Hi, I'm Terry, and I'm nuts about stamping. I'm back today with another Sundays with Sizzix project. It's this beautiful greeting card that I made using my Big Shot. Here are the supplies I used. As I mentioned, I used my Big Shot, my platform, which is on tab 1, my 2 standard cutting pads, and this week, once again, I'm going to use my Houndstooth Textured Impressions embossing folder. I'm going to use my 1 3/8 inch square punch. For the stamp set, I used fabulous Florets and Clear Block C, since mine is a clear mount set. I used the Anywhere glue stick and my snail adhesive. I used the fabulous Basic Rhinestone Jewels, my paper piercing tool. For cardstock, I used Whisper White, Basic Black, and Cherry Cobbler. And then I also used my Basic Black Classic ink pad and my brayer. All right, I'll be back in a moment and I will show you how to create the background, and I'll also teach you a cool new tip for using your square punch. Back in a moment. To create the textured background, which is going to be the layer for my card, here's what you do. You open up your embossing folder, put your Whisper White cardstock inside, and then your sandwich is tab 1 for the platform, bottom standard cutting pad, your embossing folder with your cardstock on top, inside, and then the last standard cutting pad on top. And then you want to run it through your Big Shot. Then, when you're done, you take your cardstock out and you've got 2 sides to use. Doesn't really matter for the purpose of this card which side you use, sometimes it does. Now I'm going to teach you a technique. I'm going to teach you the brayered embossed layer technique. I'm going to bring in some scrap grid paper that's been well loved, and I'm going to bring in my brayer and my classic ink. You can do this technique with any color that you want with your brayer, but for the purpose of this card, I'm using Basic Black. So what you want to do is ink up your brayer really well. It means rolling it over and over and over. Don't go back and forth. Lift your brayer so that the entire side of the brayer is covered with ink. Then what you want to do is just very gently roller over the top of your embossed image. Don't press too hard, because if you do, you'll push that embossed piece of cardstock down and the ink from your brayer will get in between. So just keep going back and forth over your brayered image until it's the darkness, I guess, that you want. Then once you do that, you're satisfied with how dark it is, you want to set it aside to dry just for a few minutes, and you can continue finishing your card. And then when you finish the rest of the pieces for your card, you'll be good to adhere this onto your card front. All right, so let me bring this one in. As my brayered layer was drying, what I did was I took my Cherry Cobbler ink, which I forgot to tell you you need. You can use your Cherry Cobbler ink or your marker to ink up the image from the fabulous Floret stamp set. Stamp it on Whisper White, then layer it on Basic Black, and then layer it onto Cherry Cobbler. Then you can create your phrase while you're still waiting for your background to dry. The phrase says, "The earth laughs in flowers." So what I did was I took a piece of Whisper White cardstock, I inked up the phrase using my Cherry Cobbler marker, stamped it down, and then I'll teach you a tip about getting the sort of the flag end. Let me see here. This is just a piece of scrap Whisper White cardstock that I have lying around. So let's, for the purpose of this video, pretend that my phrase is stamped along there. Then what you want to do is turn your punch over and angle in your cardstock. Let's see if you can see that. Angle in your cardstock so it creates that flag shape, and then punch. Oop, that didn't work so well. Let me try again. There we go. All right. So you want to angle it so that you can punch your flag, and then your phrase would be here. You can see I've got it like that. And then to complete the phrase part of the card front, I added a rhinestone jewel. Then, when everything was all ready to assemble, I took my Anywhere glue stick and glued the brayered layer to the card front. When you use the Textured Impressions embossing folder, it breaks down the paper fibers, and if you try and use snail adhesive on the back of something that's broken down, it could actually tear your cardstock. That's why I always have an Anywhere glue stick lying around for when I use my Textured Impressions embossing folder. So I adhered the embossed layer to the cherry cardstock card. Then I adhered my layer using snail adhesive because this layer was not embossed, and then I used snail adhesive to attach the phrase to complete the card front. For a complete listing of the supplies and the measurements that I used to make this card, please visit my blog, www.nutsaboutstamping.com. While on my blog, make sure that you subscribe to my customer newsletters. I send those out twice a month by email, and I have an edition coming out this Tuesday with some special announcements you won't want to miss. So you can fill in the Join My Mailing List box on my blog. You can cruise through my blog for lots of other sample ideas. Go to my calendar of events for my upcoming classes if you live in the Raleigh, North Carolina area. Or you can ask me a question by using the Contact Me button. I'm Terry. I am nuts about stamping. See you next time. Bye for now.